The red light of the emergency beacon cast long shadows across the command deck of the explorer ship Horizon. Captain Jack Reynolds stared at the scan results with a frown. Something on this unmapped planet was giving off energy readings unlike anything he had seen in 15 years of space exploration. "What do you think it is?" asked Tom, the ship's navigator. His fingers hovered over the controls, ready to plot an escape course if needed. Jack shook his head. "Not sure, but I'm going down to find out." The landing party consisted of Jack and 3 security officers. They stepped onto the surface of planet XB-427, a world of dense purple forests and strange rock formations. The air was thick but breathable, tasting faintly of metal. "The signal is coming from that direction," Jack said, pointing toward a narrow valley between 2 towering cliffs. The team moved cautiously, weapons ready. As they entered the valley, Jack noticed dark marks on the rocks. Claw marks. Huge ones. "Sir, I don't like this," whispered Ben, the lead security officer. "These look fresh." Jack nodded but pressed forward. The energy signal was growing stronger. Around the next bend, they found the source. A creature lay half hidden in a shallow cave. It was unlike anything in the galactic records. 6 limbs, a body covered in what looked like dark liquid metal, and eyes that glowed with an inner light. The creature was wounded, black fluid seeping from a gash in its side. "Is it alive?" Tom asked through the comm link from the ship. Before Jack could answer, the creature's eyes focused on him. It made no aggressive move, just watched. "Sir, this matches no known species," said the ship's scientist, Dr. Lisa Morgan, analyzing the visual feed. "But its body structure suggests it could be extremely dangerous." Jack took a step closer. The creature tensed but remained still. "I think it's hurt," Jack said. He reached for his medical kit. "Captain," Ben warned, "we should report this to command first." Jack was about to reply when a whistling sound cut through the air. A poison dart embedded itself in Ben's neck. He fell instantly. "Ambush!" shouted another security officer as humanoid figures emerged from the rocks around them. The natives of XB-427, previously thought to be primitive and non-hostile, attacked with surprising coordination. Jack took cover behind a boulder, returning fire. 1 security officer went down, then another. Jack was alone, outgunned, and surrounded. A native warrior leaped toward him, blade raised for a killing blow. In that moment, something dark and fast burst from the cave. The wounded creature moved like liquid lightning, taking down the attacker before he could reach Jack. Then it turned on the other natives, who scattered in terror at the sight of it. When the dust settled, Jack stood alone with the creature. It turned those glowing eyes on him again, and Jack felt a strange connection. It had saved his life. Against all protocol, Jack made a decision. He approached slowly, hands open. The creature watched but didn't attack. Using his limited medical knowledge, Jack treated the wound in its side. The creature remained still throughout, studying him. "Captain, what are you doing?" Dr. Morgan's voice crackled through his comm. "Command says to leave it and return at once." Jack looked at the creature. Something in those eyes spoke of intelligence. "Negative," he replied. "I'm bringing it aboard." "That's insane." Tom burst out. "Do you know what that thing might be?" Jack didn't know then that he was looking at a Nethrin, the most feared predator species in the galaxy, a species that had never been captured alive, that was said to hunt for sport and feel no mercy. All he knew was that it had saved him, and that changed everything. "Prepare the containment bay," Jack ordered as he helped the wounded creature to its feet. "We're coming home." The containment bay of the Horizon hummed with energy as the force field glowed blue around the creature. Dr. Lisa Morgan stood outside the barrier, her scanner beeping as it processed data. Captain Jack Reynolds watched from a few steps behind her, arms crossed over his chest. "Remarkable," Lisa whispered. "Its cellular structure can shift and adapt almost instantly. I've never seen anything like it. The creature moved with liquid grace within its prison, those glowing eyes never leaving Jack. It had not made any aggressive moves since coming aboard 6 hours ago. The ship's communication system crackled to life. "Captain Reynolds, this is Admiral Porter of the Galactic Council. Respond immediately." Jack sighed and pressed the comm button on the wall. "Reynolds here. What in blazes do you think you're doing?" The Admiral's voice boomed. "Your ship's automatic species identification system just flagged your guest. Do you have any idea what you've brought aboard?" "A wounded alien that saved my life," Jack replied evenly. "That's a Nethrin," Porter shouted. "The most dangerous predator the galaxy has ever known. They hunt entire species to extinction for sport. The Council's standing order is immediate termination on sight." Lisa looked at Jack with wide eyes. The crew members in the room stiffened, hands moving toward weapons. "With all due respect, Admiral," Jack said, watching as the creature tilted its head, seeming to listen, "this one is different. It had every chance to kill me on the planet. Instead, it protected me." "That's a trick," Porter snapped. "Nethrin are cunning. They play with their food. I am ordering you to terminate it immediately." Jack stepped closer to the force field. The creature mirrored his movement. "I don't think so, Admiral. This being shows clear signs of intelligence. If it's sentient, killing it would violate the Sentient Rights Act." "You're risking your entire crew on a hunch." Porter's voice rose. "That thing will slaughter everyone aboard once it gets free." Jack ended the communication with a sharp jab at the button. The room fell silent. "Sir," Tom said from the doorway, "the crew is getting nervous. Maybe we should." "No," Jack cut him off. "Lisa, you said you were working on a neural translator. How close is it?" Lisa hesitated. "It's experimental at best. We have no idea if Nethrin brainwaves can even be interpreted." "Try," Jack ordered. 3 hours later, a delicate crown of sensors surrounded the creature's head. It had allowed the device to be placed without resistance, watching Jack with those unsettling eyes. "Activating translator," Lisa said, her fingers moving across the control panel. The machine hummed to life. At first, there was nothing but static and strange clicking sounds. Then, a deep, resonant voice emerged from the speakers. "Not hunter of thinking beings." Everyone in the room froze. "Can you understand me?" Jack asked slowly. The creature's liquid metal skin rippled. "Yes. You? Different. Not afraid. Others. Always afraid." "You can speak our language," Lisa gasped. "Machine helps. Learning quick." The creature's gaze remained fixed on Jack. "I am outcast. My pack rejected me. Would not hunt beings that think." Jack stepped closer to the force field. "You were exiled for refusing to hunt sentient species." "Yes. Disgrace. But right choice." The creature pressed a limb against the energy barrier, directly opposite Jack's hand. "You saved. I saved. Sane. Do you have a name?" Jack asked. The translator produced a series of sounds impossible for human vocal cords to reproduce. "We'll call you Shade," Jack decided. He turned to Lisa. "Turn off the force field." "Captain," Tom protested. "You can't be serious." "I'm deadly serious," Jack replied. "If what Shade says is true, then we may have just made first real contact with a species everyone has been too afraid to try communicating with." Lisa's hand hovered over the controls. "Jack, if you're wrong." "I'm not," Jack said with a confidence he didn't entirely feel. "Drop the field." The blue energy barrier flickered and disappeared. Shade stepped forward, now unrestrained. The crew members reached for weapons, but Jack raised his hand to stop them. Shade moved within arm's reach of Jack, then slowly lowered its body in what appeared to be a bow. "Trust," Shade said. "Rare thing. Value it." Jack nodded, aware that he was either making history or a terrible mistake. "Welcome to the crew, Shade." The horizon slipped into the shadow of a gas giant, engines powered down to minimal life support. In the darkness of the bridge, Jack watched the scanner display with tense focus. 3 patrol ships drifted past their hiding spot, searching. "That's the 3rd patrol today," Tom whispered, as if the enemy might hear them through the vacuum of space. "The whole sector is looking for us." Jack nodded grimly. News had spread fast. A human captain harboring a Nethran. The bounty on their heads had tripled in just 2 days. Shade moved silently to stand beside Jack, its metallic skin reflecting the dim emergency lights. The neural translator hummed softly at its throat. "More come," Shade said, pointing at a blank section of the scanner. "There." Tom frowned. "There's nothing there. The scanner is clear." 3 seconds later, alarms blared as a massive battleship dropped out of hyperspace exactly where Shade had indicated. "How did you know?" Jack asked, already hitting the emergency thrusters. "Feel vibrations. Space has texture." Shade's limbs shifted, forming what looked like additional hands. "May help." Jack nodded, and Shade's newly formed appendages flew across the navigation controls with surprising skill. The horizon lurched, then shot upward through a narrow gap in the planet's ring system that no human pilot would have attempted. "That's impossible." Lisa gasped from her station. "We shouldn't be able to fit through there." But they did, the ship threading the needle between chunks of ice and rock, emerging on the other side while the battleship turned ponderously to follow. "They're launching fighters," Tom reported, his voice tense. "Shade, can you get us to these coordinates?" Jack asked, sending a set of numbers to the navigation screen. Shade studied them, then made a sound that the translator couldn't process. Perhaps Nethran laughter. "Death trap," Shade said. "Better idea." Its limbs danced across the controls again, plotting a course directly toward the system's sun. "We'll burn up," one crew member protested. "Trust," Shade reminded them. Jack looked at the Nethran, then nodded. "Do it." The horizon dove toward the blazing star, heat shields straining against the radiation. The pursuing fighters followed at first, then peeled away as they reached the safe approach limit. All except one. "They're still on us," Tom said. "And gaining." Shade's body tensed. "Hold tight." The ship suddenly spun in a maneuver that should have torn it apart, skimming the solar prominences like a stone across water. The pursuing fighter tried to match their move, but got caught in a solar flare. The crew watched in silence as it disappeared in a flash of light. "How did you know the ship could handle that?" Lisa asked, adjusting her restraints with shaking hands. "Felt structure. Strong ship." Shade's eyes glowed brighter. "Like strong captain." The compliment hung in the air as Jack directed them away from the sun, plotting a course to a small trading outpost where they might resupply. Later, in the mess hall, the mood was subdued. Most of the crew still kept their distance from Shade, but their looks had changed from fear to cautious respect after the escape. "The Galactic Council has officially branded us traitors," Lisa said quietly, sliding a tablet across the table to Jack. "They're saying you're under some kind of Nethran mind control." Jack laughed bitterly. "If that were true, you'd think Shade would make me do something more useful than running for our lives." "Not control minds," Shade said, joining them at the table. Some crew members still flinched at its approach, but fewer than before. "Minds. Sacred. Even prey minds." "We're not prey," a crewman named Alex said sharply from nearby. Shade turned those glowing eyes on him. "No. Equals. Why I left Pack. Why they hunt me too." A silence fell over the room as understanding dawned. "They're hunting you as well," Jack realized. "Not just us." "Yes, betrayed Pack. Worst crime." Shade's metallic skin rippled with what might have been sadness. "But found new Pack now." It gestured around the room at the humans. Jack saw something shift in the eyes of his crew, the barrier between species beginning to crack. Then the ship's alarms blared again. "Captain to the bridge," Tom's voice came over the intercom. We've got company. A lot of company. The hunt was far from over. The research station Omega drifted in the orbit of a dead moon, its neutral status making it one of the few safe harbors left for the horizon. Dr. Lisa Morgan hunched over a complex array of equipment, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Jack watched as she adjusted the neural interface connected to Shade. "Hold still," Lisa murmured. "These readings are fascinating. Your brain structure, it's like nothing I've ever studied." Shade remained motionless, its metallic body reflecting the blue lab lights. Different, yes, but same purpose. Think, feel, remember. "Remember," Jack repeated, leaning forward. "That's what I don't understand. You seem to know things you shouldn't. Technology you've never seen. Places you've never been." Shade's eyes pulsed. "All Nethrin remember, not just own life. All lives before." Lisa looked up from her instruments. "Genetic memory. That's theoretically possible, but no species has ever demonstrated it so completely." "Designed this way," Shade said simply. Jack and Lisa exchanged glances. "Designed?" Jack asked. "You mean you were created long ago, by ancients, made to hunt, made to kill?" Shade's voice through the translator carried a new emotion, something like shame. "Made to be perfect predators." Lisa's fingers flew across her keyboard. "The ancients. There are legends about a civilization that existed millions of years ago. They supposedly had technology far beyond our understanding. Why would they create a species like the Nethrin?" Jack wondered. "Weapon," Shade answered. "Against enemies. Then ancients gone. We remained." The implications settled heavily over the room. An ancient civilization had engineered the galaxy's most lethal hunters as biological weapons, then vanished, leaving their creations to evolve on their own. Lisa studied the genetic maps displayed on her screen. "The complexity is astounding. Your DNA contains redundant systems for everything. You can adapt to almost any environment, any attack." "Can show more," Shade offered. "Home. Your homeworld?" Jack asked. "No outsider has ever been there and returned." "Will return. With me." Shade's confidence was absolute. "Need to see. To understand." Jack considered this. Going to the Nethrin homeworld would be suicide by any rational measure. But they needed answers, and their options were running out. Before he could respond, an alarm beeped on Lisa's console. She checked it and paled. "There's a transmission being sent from this station," she said quietly. "Someone's reporting our location." Jack moved quickly to the lab door, locking it. "We need to get back to the ship. Now." They slipped through the back corridors of the station, avoiding the main walkways. As they neared the docking bay, a group of armed security officers appeared ahead. "Stop right there, Reynolds," the lead officer called. "By order of the Galactic Council, you and the Nethrin are to be detained." Jack reached for his weapon, but Shade moved first. Not to attack, but to step forward with raised limbs. "No violence," it said, surprising everyone. "Explain instead." The security team hesitated, clearly expecting the legendary Nethrin ferocity. Shade used their confusion to continue. "Look," it said, its body shifting to display the neural interface. "Communication. Understanding. Not monster." The guards exchanged uncertain glances. Jack seized the moment. "We're not your enemies," he said. "We're trying to understand a species everyone has been too afraid to study. If you let us go, we might bring back knowledge that changes everything we know about the Nethrin." One of the guards lowered his weapon slightly. "My cousin was on a colony ship attacked by Nethrin. No survivors." Shade's body seemed to droop. "Many wrongs done. By my kind. Not all same. Like humans, not all same." Something shifted in the atmosphere. The lead guard's communicator buzzed, likely his superiors demanding action. He looked at it, then back at Shade. "I never saw you," he said finally, stepping aside. "You have 5 minutes before I report this." As they hurried to the ship, Lisa asked the question on all their minds. "Why did they let us go?" Jack glanced at Shade. Because for the first time, they saw a Nethran talk instead of attack. You changed their expectations. Shade's translator hummed as they boarded the horizon. Small step, long journey. Where to now, Captain? Tom asked from the pilot's seat. Jack took a deep breath. Set course for the coordinates Shade's about to give you. We're going to the Nethran homeworld. The stunned silence that followed spoke volumes about the madness of their plan. The horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of a system no human ship had ever mapped. 3 suns orbited each other in a complex dance, casting strange, shifting shadows across a dark planet wrapped in swirling clouds. That's it, Jack said, his voice hushed. The Nethran homeworld. The crew stood silent on the bridge, staring at the view screen. Even from orbit, the planet looked forbidding. All jagged mountains and deep valleys shrouded in mist. No signals, Tom reported. No signs of technology. Shade moved to the front of the bridge, its metallic skin reflecting the eerie light of the 3 suns. Technology. Different. Hidden. Watch. The Nethran pressed its limbs to the ship's communication array. Suddenly, the seemingly empty planet lit up with thousands of energy signatures. They've been invisible to our scans all this time, Lisa whispered in awe. Their entire civilization. Many packs, Shade explained. Many territories, all watching us now. As if confirming this, dozens of sleek, dark ships rose from the planet's surface, surrounding the horizon in a perfect formation. They're not attacking, Jack observed, though his hand rested near the weapon's controls. Curious, Shade said. Never return with outsiders. Breaking oldest law. The neural translator crackled as signals from the planet bombarded it. Hundreds of Nethran voices, all speaking at once in their complex language. They arguing, Shade translated. Kill humans or listen. I request. Counsel. Jack looked at his small volunteer crew. Just 5 of them had been willing to make this journey. What happens at this council? Speak truth. Show bond. Shade's eyes met Jack's. Trust still. Jack nodded without hesitation. Always. They took a shuttle to the surface, landing in a vast crater surrounded by curved structures that seemed to grow naturally from the rock. Hundreds of Nethran gathered around them, their metallic bodies shimmering in the strange light of the 3 suns. Unlike Shade, these Nethran varied in size and color, some small and quick, others massive and imposing. All watched the humans with glowing eyes filled with what might have been hunger or curiosity. A Nethran twice Shade's size approached, its body a deep crimson. The translator identified it as First Hunter, leader of Shade's former pack. Betrayer returns. First Hunter's words came through the translator. With prey that walks free. Not prey, Shade countered. Allies. Friends. The word friends caused a ripple of movement through the gathered Nethran. Impossible. First Hunter dismissed. Humans are food. Or enemies. Nothing more. Jack stepped forward, ignoring Lisa's warning hand on his arm. We came to understand, not to fight. Your people and mine have never tried to communicate before. First Hunter's limbs shifted into razor-sharp points. Words from food mean nothing. Then let me prove we're more than food, Jack challenged. Shade told us of your bonding ritual. I want to participate. A sound like metal scraping against stone rose from the crowd, Nethran murmuring in shock. Outsider cannot survive bonding. First Hunter stated, body too fragile, mind too simple. Let me try, Jack insisted. Shade moved to stand beside Jack. I will guide, share strength. After what seemed like an eternal standoff, First Hunter stepped back. So be it. When you die in agony, others will see the weakness of your kind. They were led to a circular chamber deep underground. In the center stood a pool of silvery liquid that moved with an inner light. Essence of ancestors, Shade explained quietly. All memory, all experience. What do I do? Jack asked, his heart pounding. We enter together, Shade said. Most important, do not fear. Fear in pool attracts hunters. Jack took a deep breath and held out his hand. Shade's limb transformed to match it, their fingers interlocking. "Ready?" Jack asked. "Ready," Shade confirmed. They stepped into the silver pool together. The liquid was neither hot nor cold, but Jack felt it seep into his skin, reaching for his mind. Around them, hundreds of Nethrun watched in silence, expecting to witness a human's death. Instead, they saw something unprecedented. The pool began to glow with blue light where it touched Jack, a human resonance never seen before. Jack gasped as images flooded his consciousness. The birth of stars, the rise and fall of empires, the taste of 1,000 different hunts. But also something the Nethrun had never expected: compassion, understanding, the potential for something beyond the endless cycle of predator and prey. First Hunter watched in stunned silence as human and Nethrun emerged from the pool, still connected, still alive. "Impossible," First Hunter whispered. "No," Jack replied, his eyes now glowing faintly like shades. "Just unexpected." The journey back from the Nethrun homeworld was quiet. Jack sat in his quarters, still processing the memories from the bonding pool. He could feel Shade's presence at the edge of his mind, a constant reminder of their shared experience. "Captain," Tom's voice came over the intercom, breaking his thoughts. "We're approaching Earth space. There's a message from Admiral Trent." Jack frowned. Admiral Trent had been his mentor at the Academy, the man who had first sponsored his career in space exploration. "Put him through," Jack said. Admiral Trent's weathered face appeared on the screen. His expression was grim, but his eyes held something Jack couldn't quite read. "Jack, my boy," the Admiral said, his voice warm despite his frown. "You've caused quite a stir. The Council is in an uproar." "Sir, I can explain." "Save it for when you dock," Trent interrupted. "I've arranged safe passage through the defense grid. My flagship will escort you in." The connection ended before Jack could respond. "It's a trap," Lisa said from the doorway. "The Council declared us traitors, remember?" Jack nodded slowly. "I know. But Trent was like a father to me. If anyone will listen, it's him." Shade entered the room, moving with the fluid grace that still unnerved some of the crew. "Admiral feels wrong. Through our bond, I sense danger." Jack stood and placed a hand on Shade's metallic shoulder. "Then we'll be ready for it." As they approached Earth, a massive battleship moved alongside them. The Invincible, Admiral Trent's flagship. Its weapons remained powered down, but the threat was implicit. "They're hailing us," Tom reported from the bridge. On screen, Jack ordered. Admiral Trent appeared again, this time in full dress uniform with Council medals gleaming on his chest. "Prepare to be boarded, Captain Reynolds. By order of the Galactic Council, your ship and crew are to be placed under military custody. The Nethrun is to be transferred to a containment facility." Jack felt Shade stiffen beside him. Through their bond, he sensed not fear but resolve. "I'm sorry, Admiral," Jack replied. "I can't allow that. We've discovered things about the Nethrun that change everything. They're not just mindless predators." "Enough," Trent snapped. "Your judgment has been compromised. The Council believes the creature has affected your mind." "Not affected," Jack corrected. "Expanded. We shared a bonding ritual on their homeworld. I've seen their history, their culture." "Then you're further gone than I feared," Trent said sadly. "You leave me no choice." The transmission cut off abruptly. Seconds later, the Invincible's weapons powered up, targeting arrays locking onto the horizon. "Evasive maneuvers," Jack ordered. The smaller ship darted away, but the Invincible followed, firing warning shots across their bow. "We can't outrun them," Tom said, his hands flying over the controls. "And we can't outgun them." Shade moved to the navigation console. "Let me help." Its limbs transformed, connecting directly with the ship's systems. Through their bond, Jack felt Shade's plan forming. The horizon suddenly accelerated, executing maneuvers that should have been impossible. The Invincible's shots missed by increasingly wide margins as Shade anticipated their firing patterns before they even locked on. How is it doing that? Lisa asked in amazement. Nethren were designed to be perfect hunters, Jack explained. They can predict prey movements instinctively. For a moment, it seemed they might escape. Then 3 more council ships appeared, cutting off their retreat path. We're surrounded, Tom reported grimly. A massive energy blast rocked the ship. Alarms blared as systems failed across the board. Direct hit to the engine core, Lisa shouted over the noise. We're losing power. Jack was thrown across the bridge as another blast hit. He felt warm blood running down his face as he struggled to his feet. Surrender, Jack. Admiral Trent's voice came through the damaged comm system. Don't make me destroy you. Jack looked around at his loyal crew, then at Shade. Any ideas? Shade's metallic skin rippled with determination. 1. Lifelink. Forbidden among my kind. Share life force completely. What would that do? Jack asked. Show Trent truth. All truth. Through you. Shade moved closer. Dangerous. Might die. Both of us. Jack didn't hesitate. Do it. As the Invincible prepared to fire again, Shade pressed its forehead against Jack's. Their bond suddenly exploded into something far deeper, past, present, and possible futures flowing between them like lightning. On the Invincible's bridge, Admiral Trent watched in shock as the horizon began to glow with strange energy. Then his view screen flickered, and instead of seeing the damaged ship, he saw directly into Jack's mind. And through it, into the complete history of both humans and Nethren. The truth could no longer be denied. The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with voices. Representatives from 100 worlds filled the circular chamber, their attention fixed on the central platform where Captain Jack Reynolds stood. Beside him, Shade's metallic form gleamed under the bright lights. 6 weeks had passed since the confrontation with Admiral Trent's fleet. The lifelink between Jack and Shade had done more than save their lives. It had broadcast the complete, unfiltered truth about the Nethren to every ship in the battle group. The neural connection had temporarily linked not just Jack and Shade, but everyone within range. Order, called the Council President, a tall being with blue skin. This special session will now begin. The room fell silent. Jack stepped forward, still showing faint scars from the battle. Honored representatives, he began, his voice steady. You've all reviewed the evidence from the lifelink event. For the first time, we have seen the Nethren as they truly are, not as mindless predators, but as a sentient species with a complex culture. Murmurs filled the hall. Not all were friendly. They were weapons, shouted a representative from a world that had suffered Nethren attacks. Created to kill. Their very nature is violence. Shade moved forward, its movements fluid and calm. The neural translator at its throat hummed to life. Yes, created as weapons, Shade acknowledged. Like many tools that later become more. We evolved. Some packs still hunt. Others seek different path. Admiral Trent, now the strongest advocate for the Nethren cause, stood from his seat. The lifelink had affected him more deeply than anyone. I have seen their minds, he said simply. There can be no doubt. They meet every criterion for protected sentient status under our laws. To deny this would make us the monsters, not them. The Council President called for a vote. The Chamber's display showed the results in real time, world after world registering their position. It was close, desperately close, until the final tally appeared. By the narrowest margin, the motion passed. The Nethren would be recognized as a sentient species with all the protections that status provided. Jack felt a wave of emotion through his bond with Shade, relief, joy, and something like hope. Outside the council hall, reporters crowded around them. Captain Reynolds called one. Is it true other Nethren are seeking human partners since you're bonding with Shade? Jack nodded. Yes, Already 20 pairs have formed successful bonds. It seems our species complement each other in ways nobody could have predicted. Another reporter pushed forward. And the reports of Nethren helping to establish peace in the Outer Rim conflicts. Also true, Jack confirmed. Their abilities make them exceptional mediators. They can sense deception and anticipate violence before it happens. Later, aboard their new ship, the Unity, Jack and Shave stood on the observation deck, watching the stars. Lisa and Tom joined them, no longer showing any fear of the Nethren. "The Council has approved our mission," Lisa said excitedly. "We'll be leading the first official diplomatic expedition to the Nethren homeworld. And half the crew will be Nethren," Tom added, still sounding slightly amazed at the concept. Jack smiled. A year ago, the very idea would have been unthinkable. Shade's metallic skin rippled with what Jack now recognized as happiness. Change comes, sometimes slow, sometimes fast, always possible. Through their bond, Jack felt Shade's deeper thoughts, memories of being outcast, of the loneliness that had driven it to spare a human life that fateful day on planet XB427. A choice that had changed the galaxy. "You know," Jack said quietly, "the ancients who created your people as weapons are long gone, but I wonder if they'd be proud to see what their creations have become." "Perhaps," Shade replied, "or perhaps surprised. Best outcome, often unexpected." As the Unity prepared to depart, Jack looked at the strange crew assembled on his bridge. Humans and Nethren working side by side. Former enemies, now partners. Each pair connected by the same type of bond he shared with Shade. The ship's communication system chimed. On the screen appeared a Nethren elder from the homeworld, its ancient eyes glowing with wisdom. "The stars welcome you," the elder said in the formal greeting of its people. Jack replied with the traditional human response, but added words that had never before been spoken between their kinds. Not as strangers, but as family. The Unity's engines hummed to life, carrying them toward a future where the galaxy's most feared predator and its once intended prey would reshape the stars together, one friendship at a time.